The first time I visited Gdansk, we only had 2 days in the city, so most of our time was spent rushing around from place to place visiting as many attractions as possible. As opposed to our previous trip, this time we're returning for a week, which means we can really slow down and appreciate the city. I've been putting a lot of time and energy into art for the last 2 years, including plenty of mental breakdowns about my art style and where I want to take my art career. I know I'm probably not the only one who feels burned out at times, so I hope that for the next few minutes you can relax with me while I take a break from the chaos of daily life to explore the beautiful city of Gdansk and romanticize my crumbling life just for a little while. Our first day started with some exploration of the old town. The first thing I noticed upon arriving is that things haven't changed at all. Sometimes it's easy to forget that when we leave a place, it does actually continue to exist. The streets are still busy with people, cars are buzzing around on the roads, shops are operating their normal hours, and people are still meeting their loved ones for coffees. It's comforting, but kind of a strange feeling at the same time. The most striking thing about Gdansk Old Town is the architecture. Many buildings are adorned with beautiful decorative facades, each with their own unique color and style. On this trip, I've made it my mission to find my favorite things around town and draw them, just for fun. So, I thought it could be a good exercise to try out some urban sketching for the very first time. Not only do I get to keep practicing my art, but it also means that I get to have fun really exploring the surroundings, seeking out little pockets of beauty to take inspiration from. I started my urban sketch page with an intricate sign that I saw hanging on the storefront of a quaint amber shop along the main river. While I'm sure it would look much more romantic to use a leather-bound sketchbook and a fountain pen, I'm just using Procreate on the iPad. Even with this first sketch, I quickly found that at times there's something very meaningful about drawing something pointless, and time quickly slipped by while I was absorbed in this fun little task. Before I knew it, the second morning in Gdansk was already upon us, and we had made plans to visit the museum in the main town hall. Quite hard to miss, with its towering clock and emerald green spire, I was really looking forward to seeing what was actually inside the building that I could see lit up from the window of my Airbnb. Built in the late 14th century as a meeting place for Polish kings and city authorities, this building was unfortunately almost completely destroyed during World War II and rebuilt after the war with extraordinary detail and care. While we were a little disappointed to hear that the Tower Lookout Point was closed for the season, seeing possibly one of the most beautiful Renaissance halls in Northern Europe made the trip inside well worth it. A look up at the ceiling reveals a whole ecosystem of stunning paintings unlike anything I've ever seen in person before. 3 or 4 years ago, this would have probably just passed me by, but even just lightly dipping your toes in the art world really helps you understand just how much work and dedication it must take to pull off something like this. I was still on my mission to spot pretty things to sketch, so I had my phone in hand snapping for potential reference photos. My favorite find of the day was a little jug made of silver, which was part of a huge collection of silver crockery. One thing I love about Gdansk, and I suppose about most of Central Europe, is that the quality of cafes is taken very seriously. It isn't hard to find a cozy nook where you can sit and decompress for hours sipping on milky coffees and just letting the busyness of daily life slip away. Here, I took the opportunity to continue my urban sketch page. I ended up drawing the little silver jug that I saw earlier that day, and I'm not entirely sure what drew me towards this little jug in particular, but I made it my goal to fill the canvas with whatever I want regardless of if there was a valid reason, so that's exactly what I did. While there were plenty of faces for me to choose from in the main town hall, for my next sketch I decided to draw a different face completely, and that was the face of the iconic Neptune's Fountain. Neptune's Fountain is one of the most recognizable landmarks of the city, so it felt fitting to include it in my urban sketch page. Plus, it let me get a little bit of full body anatomy practice in too, which is always a bonus. The end of our trip took us to the World War II Museum, and while I feel like what you see here speaks for itself, I will say that this is by far the most well thought out and informative war museum I've ever been to, and would absolutely recommend it to anybody visiting the area. After settling in the final cafe of our trip, it was time for me to attempt the biggest challenge of my urban sketch page yet. To truly capture the essence of the city, I wanted to try drawing one of those elegant Dutch Renaissance-style buildings that so beautifully line the streets of Gdansk. After asking my Instagram followers to help me choose which one to draw, I got started on my interpretation of WWII House that sits along the banks of the main river. This structure in particular caught my eye on the very first day because of its vibrant red windows and lush hanging baskets of flowers. Because of that, I wanted to complete this drawing digitally in full colour. Although I grew up in suburban England and was used to the buzz of people and busy commercial centres, living in rural Norway for the past 3 years has put me in a little bubble of isolation that I've now grown accustomed to. It can be quite lonely at times, and with nothing better to do, I've had a lot of uninterrupted time to put into learning and drawing. The best days are when you slip into a flow state and hours pass without noticing. You can set up routines and habits that help you get stuff done without ever worrying about distractions or obligations. But without any outside input or new impressions in day-to-day life, you can just as easily fall into patterns that do the opposite. There's something about being surrounded by life and movement that can inspire you to keep momentum. While I'm sure many people would probably view entering the chaos of city life the opposite of a vacation, for me it was great, not only for my mental well-being but also just what I needed to feel a bit of a creative spark again. Visiting the bustling city of Gdansk and watching people go about their daily lives, each person with a place to be and things to do, really reminded me of the places that I want to be and the things that I really want to do, which I think can be easily blurred by the monotony of repeating the same routines over and over again in isolation. Anyway, here is my finished illustration of WWII House, and this is the completed urban sketch page from the city of Gdansk. Overall, I had a pretty good time in Gdansk, more than I could have hoped for, and in retrospect, I think that this will be such a fun little way to commemorate my trip. Although my days here were numbered, it probably won't be the last time I visit. Thanks for exploring this little corner of Poland with me. I hope you all have a great week. Take care and stay safe. Bye!